the founders of Instagram are back, and they have a new startup called
Oh,
Artifact. So this is really cool. It's like TikTok but for news.
that's
So
interesting.
yeah, so this would be pretty cool. So I've been using this for the last couple of days, and I actually really like it. It's if you've just been using Twitter as a source of news, and you don't like the negative comments, then this is a game changer. So let's start with a little context, right? So Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger both started Instagram in 2010. And so we all know what it is by now. It's been 13 years since it came out. So it's definitely one of the most popular social media apps, and it definitely was the most popular one at one point in time. And so
I wonder if
basically,
it still is.
yeah, well, I think TikTok is more in terms of monthly active users, because I think that's
Mm.
the standard comparison. But today, Instagram has 1.2 billion monthly active users, which is really interesting. And so I'm not sure if they're the top at the moment, or if they're second or third. But I think WhatsApp counts as a social media, and I think it has more
Yeah.
than Instagram as well, or it's definitely had more at some
Yeah.
point, which is heaps interesting.
Yeah.
But
A lot of
it
these,
definitely
I think both TikTok and WhatsApp, I think are both pretty like popular in some of these Asian countries. And so I think that helps. I think Instagram probably a little less so. And so I think that's probably their main downfall. But yeah, they're definitely massive.
exactly. But if we're talking 2017 to 2019, I would definitely say strong
Yeah.
chance that
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
most popular
Yeah.
social media. So if we go back in time a little bit, the first photo was posted by Mike Krieger, the co-founder, along with his other co-founders, Kevin. So the first photo was posted by Mike. I think it's of his dog, and that was on the 16th of July 2010. And so in February 2011, so just the next year, they raised a Series A of 7 million at a valuation of $20 million. And in April 2012, they raised 50 million at a valuation of 500 million. Now, here's something interesting. Also, in April 2012, they agreed to sell to Facebook, and so Facebook agreed to buy the company for $1 billion. So the people so that was basically $300 million in cash and $700 million in stock. And so that deal ended up closing in September 2012, just before Facebook went public. So essentially, the investors in April 2012 doubled their money. So I'm not sure exactly when they invested in April, but Facebook agreed to buy on the 9th of April, which means that the investors that invested in April 2012 doubled their money in less than 9 days. So any time between because they raised at that 500 million valuation,
500
and
and then
then
sold it. Yeah.
sold for
At
a
a billion.
billion in the same
That's crazy.
short period. But it was only the year before that it was valued at 20 million. So there would have been a few much luckier investors.
And that's where you see some of the richest tech guys around nowadays are probably those guys who are in the 20 million round.
Exactly. And it's really interesting. Jack Dorsey was actually one of the investors in that $20 million round. So he's the founder of Twitter. So obviously he thought that would be a big idea. Bit of competition, but maybe not. Maybe he didn't think like that at the time. And I mean, people use both, so it's not really. So both of the founders left Facebook in November 2018, which is heaps interesting because most founders actually leave Facebook once their company gets acquired, which is says something about the culture, I think. So I think there's a real disconnect there between maybe the large corporate Facebook versus the small startup that the founders have built. They're giving up a lot of control as well, probably giving up control to a middle manager at Facebook who is now their boss, when they were the CEO and they thought of themselves on the same level as Mark Zuckerberg. Now there's 10 layers between them and Mark, so it's probably that. I can't say for sure, but the same thing happened when they bought Oculus. So the company that makes the VR
Yeah.
headsets, the founders also left after their acquisition. I'm assuming there's also something in them that's like, we have to build a company. We're not building anything here. And there's potentially
Yeah. You have to expect that those types of people would just want to move on to the next thing. They've got all
exactly,
this
and
capital.
also
They're ready to go. Yeah.
100%. and like, what's the point of working for someone as well if they already have all this money? They're not really working for their salary, especially once their stock vests, because there's a certain period where they can't actually get paid out all of their stock from selling their company, and so they're probably just waiting there for all their stock to vest, which is kind of funny. Um, so back to Artifact. So it's marketed, or at least it's commented as like the TikTok but for news. So it starts out with this. It starts out with this page where you can click on what you're interested in. So you can click on soccer, U.S. politics, TV and movies, stuff like that. And then once you get through, you have this really clean display of articles in this For You page, which is really cool because it's sort of yeah, a bit like TikTok. Um, so you click on one and it takes you through to the publisher or newspaper's page, and within like Artifact's kind of interface, so you can kind of see. It's almost like you're using a web browser to click onto someone's page, almost like a Google home screen, um, but it's only the articles that you'll like. So it's really interesting. So you'll go in through there. There'll be no username and sign up process in Artifact. So like as I signed up, I just downloaded the app, selected my interests, and I was already
Really?
in the page, right? And so then I was
Oh,
thinking, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't have to make an account. I didn't have to do any of this. And then so yeah, it's really cool. You just start using it. And then it says like I went to the profile section because it's making a profile on you based on your preferences and what you like and everything. So I went through there and it says, if you want to save your preferences, you can enter your phone number, and it'll save you. And then you just have to enter it again next time. So yeah, the whole sign up process was phone number and verification code, which is funny because it wasn't like first name, last name, or email address or anything like that. So that was kind of cool. I really like the low touch aspect of it. Um, yeah, and so basically you get through. You can choose to um, include your subscriptions that you already have. So you can choose to include the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg and stuff like that. Um, but if you don't include those, it'll kind of automatically exclude all the articles that block with paywalls and everything. So
oh,
on your
really?
For
It
You
doesn't even show you
page,
them. That's cool.
yeah, so on your For You page, it won't, like, if you click through to an article, you're not going to get a paywall or anything like that. So
That's
I
good.
reckon
That's a
that's
service in it. That's a service in itself. Exactly, because like already you're on Google and you just type stuff in, like I don't know, you type up something you know has happened and you want to read an article on it, and so many of them. You click them, paywall, click it, paywall, click it, paywall. You're like, oh, just give me
mm,
one without a paywall. So that's
yeah,
actually so
exactly.
good in and of itself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, obviously, if you have that subscription, then it'll add it, and obviously, it won't have the paywall and everything. And you can kind of sign in through the app to your subscription. Um, so it's pretty cool. So I actually got one of the news sections from it. That Spotify Web3 story. I saw that on Artifact because I selected crypto as an interest, which is really cool. Um, so you may have been wondering why it's like TikTok for news. So the reason is algorithmic predictions. So there's a lot of hype around AI, and another word for algorithmic predictions is artificial intelligence based estimations, or guesses. You know, it's like using AI to estimate what um, your preferences are, which is really cool. So basically, what this means is there's a system which is taking how much of an article you've read. Um, it takes that and it takes which articles you click on, and it conglomerates all of the categories and topics. You have a really cool stats page which shows you all of the topics that you like most and the publishers that you like most. And it's actually incredible idea because it's like taking what YouTube and TikTok have done really well and been doing for years and applying it to the news that people read. Like, it's just such an obvious product. In hindsight, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is actually a really good idea, obviously. Like, um, but yeah, it's obviously you don't think about it until someone else has done it already. Um, so a few of the future features will be sharing with friends, seeing what they're reading, what they like, and telling the system whether you like an article or you don't like an article or you don't like a publisher. You can kind of cut that out of your feed forever. The stats page is obviously really cool. So yeah, obviously it shows you what your kind of percentages of everything you've read are and all that. You can see where you're up to in certain articles. You can go back to your history and see, oh, it's 32% read. You can click on that. It'll take you to 32% of the way through the article and you can keep going.
Oh,
Um,
that's great.
and
That's
so yeah,
fantastic.
it is really cool. And so basically, it opened up to the public on the 23rd of Feb, which is 3 days ago from when we're recording here.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's so it opened up with no waitlist or phone number. So before that, it had been open for all of Feb, I think, with a waitlist and a bit of exclusivity. So now it's opened up to the public. So it's sort of an official launch, sort of 3 days ago, which is really cool. It's really hard to see any data on the real funding of the business or anything like that. But I would actually, or like when they started working on it or anything like that, I'm assuming all the founding stories and all that stuff will kind of come out over the next couple of years as it becomes a bit of a success or a failure, but probably won't be a failure. Um, or you never know. I mean, but I would also assume that they've kind of funded it themselves and built the team themselves and all that kind of thing because of they would
Yeah.
already be sitting on huge piles of cash. So like they can just own 100% of this second
Yeah.
business, which is cool. Um, yeah, and so yeah, there'd be something there. So I think both of the co-founders are 39. So they've been obviously founded Instagram 13 years ago.
Ah, yes. They have
This is
done
the
something
second.
really fairly
Yeah,
significant prior to this, but yeah, that's cool.
very significant. Yes, yeah. So
39.
that was
Going
my comment
again.
on
I
age
like
from
it.
before.
That's cool.
Yeah, so if they get another
Yeah,
hit,
yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
really
I like
cool.
it.
There'll be dual startup hits.
Very
So the
cool.
main things they had three
Cool.
factors that they wanted before they wanted to build a startup. And so this is before they built a new company. They wanted a big new wave in consumer technology, a new way to connect that wave to social technology, which they're still really wanting to build in that area because they're passionate about it, and an idea of how their product could solve a problem. So that's their three factors, and then once those three factors were met, that's when they would create the app. So this is their idea based on their three pronged kind of philosophy, which is cool. Um, so next up, I'm going to talk about a competitor which I've found, which is also very recent.
Oh.
So this is cool. This is heaps interesting. There's a competitor called Ren, and it's actually really hard to find something about this company online. I think because there's already a cryptocurrency called Ren, and so it might be
Oh.
it's
As
like a
in
similar name.
REM.
Yeah. So when you're trying to find that specific thing, you look up Ren News, and it'll come up with that crypto. So I mean, I think they should rebrand, but
Yeah.
that's just me. Or they just have to get better and rank higher. Um, but obviously, hardly any competition. But no, it is a competitor. So part of their point of difference is that they're a little bit more like LinkedIn. So this is a bit of a niche. So they'll look at the news which is related to your network. So you import your LinkedIn or your contacts, and you get news about your clients or the people that you know in a shortened, summarized article, and it'll tell you which kind of what news they've been in. It'll use AI to shorten those articles and tell you about. So one of the use cases on their front page is about, oh, this guy raised 1 million in a startup round, and he's your friend from your contact. So obviously, it's more for business leaders who are already in this high position because like most people don't have. I think it's like such a funny thing to build a startup around. Yeah, everyone has a friend in the news, and all of these people will be in their custom
Yeah, that's
feed
right.
of news. So it's definitely very very high end.
I'll link mine
Um,
and there'll just be nothing in there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the whole idea is you have a big network, and then each time your network gets mentioned, you get a feed, and then you can press reach out, and it'll say, "Congrats on raising $1 million in this round from whoever,"
Yeah,
and
cool.
it's like an
I mean, that's
automated
cool. That's great.
system, so it kind of sends a message.
Yep.
Yeah. So back to Artifact. Overall, I think it's really like a really cool idea. Can it get big? I think a lot of people use a lot of people read the news, and this helps to like make it better. It'll let you discuss with your friends in the future. So I think that's cool. I think without the mass disagreement of an argument of Twitter maybe it won't be as viral as Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, just because of the lack of disagreement that people see, because people that helps stuff go viral. But at the same time, making
Yes,
an
that's
app
right.
where there's no ability to have negativity, I think is really cool. And so maybe not as viral, but definitely more useful and kind of it's a bit nicer than a social media, for example. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. It's a nice change. I think I don't think it could ever be as big as Instagram, because I just don't see, like, people want to take photos and put them up. Like, everybody wants to do that nowadays, and people have started to learn how to use it, and more and more generations who are becoming tech savvy are able to do that. Like news, like, I just think there's a certain type of person who just doesn't care about the news.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think you. And so, yeah, I think you're just very much targeting a more specific audience. But I think it's a huge audience still, and I think it could still be absolutely very successful. I just I don't think it would ever overshadow what they've done with Instagram. But yeah, it's actually cool. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to read some articles.
Yeah, it's really cool. I recommend it, and I'm keen to see where it goes from here. So yeah,
Love it. Nice.
all right. So in this episode, we brought back Web3 music. We learned how to make the most of AI. We learned about Hermes and some of the very expensive handbags you can get from there, which is cool. And a social media app that is back. Well, the founders that are back anyway. So yeah,
The
pretty
founders are
cool.
back. Love it.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Till next time, indeed.